Good afternoon and welcome again to this wonderful program, Friday Conversations with Reverend Alan. I just want to take this opportunity to give the host of the show a moment just to make an introductory remark for us. Karibu, Reverend Alan.
Thank you so much. I welcome you this Friday conversation, and I pray that God is with you. God has kept you today, and in the following days, we want to discuss about toxic relationships. We want to address the issues of toxicity in relationships so that we may, all of us, be helped to come together and have a healthy relationship. And if not a healthy relationship, we have a healthy life. Thank you. Welcome.
Wow. So in this month of October, we want to talk about toxic relationship, and we want to discuss things concerning toxic relationship. We have our psychological counselor, Janet Surum Kiplagat, lecturer, University of Kabianga. Karibu tena na tena.
Thank you.
So we begin with this topic in this conversation with Reverend Alan and our able counselor here, Janet. What is the definition of toxic relationship?
I would actually think the best definition of toxic relationship is on describing it more than defining it, because it's a concept that is built so much on characteristic of events between people, one person, two people in a relationship or more. But maybe in definition, I can start by saying that it's a relationship between between two or more people that are constantly fighting each other, or they are so cold on each other, but they are trying to maintain the relationship. They are two. They keep on fighting. They are not agreeing over anything. They keep on hurting each other, and or they are so quiet on each other. They don't speak with each other. But both of them or all of them, they don't want to end the relationship. They are trying to maintain it. So either both of them or one of them or all of them are suffering as a consequence of that relationship.
Thank you. Janet, what is your definition from a counselor point of view of toxic relationship?
Okay, thanks once again for having me here. And this topic again is so relevant in our time. I would say that a toxic relationship is any association between people that is so much characterized by disunity, disrespect, and unhealthy competition. And it occurs in a vicious circle. These people too, it can be a couple, whoever, they're not about to leave each other. So they seem like contented, again they are discontented. So it's a vicious circle. Yes.
So we get our definitions of toxic relationship. We continue as we lay a foundation of this conversation that will take us into other episodes. I want to ask, who or what is a toxic person?
Actually, every time we speak about a toxic relationship, is a relationship formed out of toxic people or a toxic person. Maybe in a relationship, maybe if it's between two people, one can be toxic, another one not toxic, or it can be both of them are toxic. Or if it is a relationship among a small people, some can be toxic, some may not be toxic, or all of them are toxic. Therefore, any relationship that has a presence of a toxic person, it becomes a toxic relationship. A toxic relationship gets the name from the presence of a toxic person, whether all of them are toxic or some of them are toxic and others are not. Therefore, I would actually say we call it toxic relationship as a result of what this person is bringing into the relationship. I would say a toxic person is a person who is toxic, is something poisonous. Is somebody that is poisonous to the other one. You know, the problem with poison is if you pour poison in a clean water, the whole water becomes poison. If you pour a poison in a good food, the whole food becomes poisonous. That's why we call a poisonous food. Therefore, it is a poisonous relationship, even if the other one is not toxic, but the relationship becomes toxic. Now, a toxic person is a person that is abusive, a person that likes putting the other one down, a person that is jealousy, a person that has unhealthy competition, a person that emotionally hurts the other one without caring. Actually, I would say in a toxic relationship and toxic person is whereby it is just based on love only. I want to keep this person because I love this person, in regardless of other factors that build a relationship, things like trust, things like respect, things like faithfulness, provision, and all those things. So I would say a toxic person is a person that is abusive, a person that is manipulative, a person that is controlling, a person that is demeaning. That's a toxic person. Yeah.
Just to ask you, to probe you more, you've talked about people who are toxic, they keep people because they love them. Or is the other person who keeps people because they love him?
The toxic person takes advantage of the love that the other person has for them. It's like he controls the emotions of the other person. Let us say a son and the mother. The mother loves the son. The son is toxic. So the son knows, however much I hurt my mother loves me. He will keep on running to the police to bail me out. He will keep on fighting with my father to bail me out. So the person that loves mostly is the victim. But again, the toxic person may be loving the other person in as much as he hurts the other person, but he does not have the courage to leave the other person. He may be doing all bad things to this other person, but he loves that person. Therefore, if there's no love, and instead of becoming toxic, you can just break it and move your own way.
Okay,
Yeah.
Janet, who or what is a toxic person?
Wow. Okay. I look at it this way, as an association. Yes, I call it an association. So any relationship of any nature, as long as it's more than one part, even friendship, it can be a toxic relationship. So I look at it, any person whom your association with brings unhappiness. There are so many negatives than positives. You know, you go to this person, every time you leave, you feel you're defeated. You feel negative, you feel low, you feel you're not worthy. That is a toxic relationship. So anytime you have an association where you are always the one on the receiving end. And I must emphasize that it is any relationship of any nature. If you have that friend whom you feel every time you talk to, you get out of that place, or that conversation, that phone conversation ends you feeling down, you feel you're not worthy, you feel like your life is lagging behind, that is a toxic relationship. That is a toxic person.
Maybe we can say you can have a toxic husband, a toxic wife, a toxic son or a toxic daughter, a toxic friend. You can have a toxic pastor or a toxic member of your congregation. Anybody in any relationship, even if it's a distant relative, provided it ends up bringing you down or disappointing you or doing something bad, it's a toxic person. Yeah.
Janet brings up as something interesting, that anytime you speak to this person, you leave there feeling worthless, feeling low. And I want to ask, is toxicity a mental health problem?
Toxicity in itself is a character of the other person. You see, let me start from here. Toxicity just does not arise within a person. It is something that builds from our early development. Could be this toxic person was in a toxic relationship with the parents, with the siblings, and so they emit. You know the way we say hurt people. So the same way with the toxicity. This person is not like they were born with this toxicity, but they developed along the way, they picked up. It is like a survival mechanism for them. And your question was?
Is it a mental health problem?
I may not say really that we can say toxicity is a mental health issue, but it is a characteristic, a symptom of some mental health challenges. For example, it's just like narcissism. It's like manipulation. All those can be ascribed to some mental issues. Yes. So
Yes.
I cannot say it is not, but you cannot really say that it is a mental health.
I can add on her, it is more of nurture than nature. How somebody was raised up. Apart from maybe a survival tactic whereby somebody experienced a toxic relationship, so is surviving, it can also develop from spoiled brats. Children that were spoiled by their parents as they were growing. They were used to having their ways. They were treated as if the whole world is theirs and every other person is surviving because they have given them permission to survive. So if this person grow up and expand their environment, they begin to exhibit the same behavior to other people. Actually, a toxic person is like one part of that toxic person could be a bully, a person who bullies others. And then a toxic person again could be the absent person, the person who is absent from their responsibility over the other person. So mostly it is a matter of developmental. But I would also join Janet and say it may lead to a mental health issues. And at the same time, it can be a symptom of a mental health issue, but not limited to. That is, somebody may be toxic, but not a mental health problem. It could be just a character that he has developed over a period of time.
Let me ask, is it a call for attention from the person who is exhibiting the toxics?
I'll say no. Because most of the time, this person who is toxic is not aware. You see, these toxic traits within a person are very subtle. So the other person, the toxic partner, the toxic friend, whoever, they are not really aware, by the way. Even when they keep telling you are wrong all the time, it's not something intentional. It is just something they have learned to live with. Believe me.
Really? What's your take?
I would actually say, partially, I would agree with Janet, but partially, I would say there are some who are very conscious. That's why we say it's manipulative or taking advantage of the love that you have for that person. And maybe as we keep on going deeper, as we try to cluster the type of toxic relationships, you will discover the type that operates in marriage is different from the type that operates between parents and children, and also different from the type that operates in other social grounds like workplaces or a normal friendship. So there are those that don't know what they are doing, but there are those who know what they are doing, but they are saying, after all, my mother cannot chase me away or allow me to suffer because she loves me so much. You know, I've seen a young man who beats up his mother every time. Sometimes he walks naked in the house, abusing the mother. And I've even tried to help the mother, but the mother keeps on saying, oh, you know, I don't want to hurt my child. And I've heard that young man telling other people, I know that my mother will do nothing about it. So that's a toxic relationship of a person who is aware and takes advantage of the love of the mother. Yet I've also seen somebody that when we confronted him, he said, I actually did not know that I was hurting you. Some of us that are a victim of broken families, we have experienced a toxic parent a lot. A toxic parent whereby your parent takes the phone call, your father takes the phone and begins to call you and insult you there and mess you up. By the time you cut the phone, you can't cut the phone because it's your father. You can't end the phone. You have to listen to it. By the time you break from the phone call, you can't do any other thing. You are just hurt. And one day I was speaking to a pastor, and he told me, you have to define that relationship. Otherwise, that's a toxic relation. That's the closest I came to understand about toxic relationship. So I would say with Janet, some are unconscious, but some are conscious.
Okay.
You see, I agree with Pastor, actually. And you see, when we counsel these people who are toxic, you see, we as the audience see so much toxicity, but them, they don't see any problem. Actually,
the two of them, the one in the relationship.
No, the toxic person.
Okay.
They're not seeing any problem. You try to let them see from the point of view of this other person. And most of them are very stubborn. They are always right.
Yeah.
They are always right. So you find some are not aware and they don't want to know.
So they shut off.
Some of them are proud.
Yes.
Some of them are arrogant.
Yes.
They think this is how things should be. And I would actually say the interesting part of toxic relationship is even the victim may not be aware that he or she is in a toxic relationship. The wife may be thinking that I'm just submitting to my husband. The mother may think that I'm just loving my son. The husband may just think that I'm just being good to my marriage. Until the time someone knows that this is a toxic relationship, that's the time the people begin to make decisions and begin to try to come out of it. Otherwise, have you ever seen you go and talk to somebody, you say, and why are you suffering all this? So, it's my husband, I have to submit. I have to love my husband just the way he is. Yeah.
And by that, it's very addictive. It's one relationship where it's just very hard to. It's like this person who is your
a drug.
It's like a drug. You want to take it to feel high. So you keep going to this person. You depend on this person. You have many friends, but there's this one friend you still must go to. So it is just very addictive. And in fact, even in counseling, it's one of the relationships, very, very difficult relationships to end.
Like in family, you will discover it normally manifests through a child that is loved so much, loved than any other child. So as they are growing, the love keeps on increasing, and the other child begins to abuse others, begins to abuse the parents, but the parents can do nothing about it. As Janet says, it's something that you are addicted to this person. If he suffers, you suffer more than him, and he takes advantage of it completely.
Okay, which leads me to a question just to juggle our conversation as we lay the foundation, because we want to delve deep on the toxicity. Do these toxic people have emotions of guilt, emotions of maybe sometimes they tend to withdraw and cry, things like that? Do they regret, or they're just blank?
Okay, let me say something. This toxicity occurs on a spectrum. It's by the way, even in our marriages, even in the normal marriages that are not toxic, it can be toxic depending on the spectrum. So when it is characterized by inconsistency, intensity, it leads to damage. So these people who are toxic are not really, I cannot say they are apologetic. They feel it. For them, it's a way of life. They are defending their man, they are defending their woman. I'm being a good friend. I'm telling you the facts. But you don't want to listen.
In fact, one funny thing is they always get some satisfaction every time they exercise it, and they succeed in exercising it. They always laugh and feel like they have won that battle. Yeah, so it is very few of them, and the ones that you discover that they are remorseful, they are the ones that now are beginning to make a decision out. But otherwise, it brings some kind of fulfillment. By the way, toxic relationship can be everywhere, but varies in degrees. The other ones we can put up with, but the other ones now they are becoming even in just a simple relationship, that I'm the only one who must call you. You don't call me. I'm the only one who calls you. When we go out, I'm the only one who must buy lunch. When we travel, I'm the only one who must fuel the car. It may look so simple, but it builds slowly. There are some of your siblings you discover, they can call everyone except you. It's only you who calls them. And if they want to call you, they flash you. There are spouses, even a husband. I know a husband that he cannot call his wife. It's the wife who must call. And when he wants to call his wife, he calls and then tells the wife, call me. And he has credit and everything. So sometimes they may look so innocent, but if push comes to pull, it explodes into a bad thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before we take a short break, I want to ask, is now people who are toxic, are they users? Do they
Oh,
use
definitely. They are users.
Mhm.
You cannot be toxic without being a user because you're always on the winning side. Therefore, you are a user. You are never wrong. Therefore, you are a user. Yes.
Pastor has brought a very interesting angle whereby you're the only one who calls, you're the only one who gives, you're the only one who goes.
Mostly they are users, but more abusers. They are users, but more abusers. That is, whatever they are doing with you, they are abusing you, not your contribution into their lives. Their satisfaction is in abusing you. That's where their satisfaction is. Most of the people that are toxic, I would actually say, is they have learned a weakness in their victim's emotion. They have learned a certain weakness. They could be learning that you are ashamed for people to know that your marriage is breaking. So as long as you're trying to hide that your marriage is in a rocks, so they will continue to insult you. They could be learning your weakness, that you don't want the people in your workplace to know that you have a husband that is abusive. So they will beat you up and do everything that they want to do with you, provided they know that you will not tell it out. So they are users and they are abusers who take advantage of their victims' emotional weakness.
And I think it's important really to emphasize that even these normal day-to-day relationships can be very toxic. Most of us are struggling to cling to people. These people don't want us. We want them. That is a toxic relationship. You know, it's really funny because I remember when I finished my undergraduate, I had this friend who would not call me. Okay, I would keep checking on them. I would do things, but they would call me when they want to go to Gikomba. You see, they want company to Gikomba. You know, Gikomba, the way it is. So I reasoned to myself, this person, the way they see me, how do they see me? I'm just for Gikomba.
They're only using you.
They're only using
No
me.
relationship.
No relationship. We'd go for a year without talking. Then one day suddenly I'd like to go to Gikomba because the other stock is, you know. Then I reasoned to myself, this is a toxic relationship. Why do you cling to people who are not ready for you? And Pastor said a very good thing. They are aware of your weakness. They are aware of your weakness. You know, there are these situations that have you ever found yourself in an awkward situation? You call someone your friend and themselves, they know they are not your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is toxic again.
Wow.
And people have to be really cautious of the red flags. Don't ignore, even for those who are dating. Let your antennae be very high in terms of the red flags. Don't ignore even one. I'm sure we are going to talk about the red flags. Don't ignore. If you want to have a healthy marriage, even in marriage, there are small things that can build up to toxicity in what started as a very healthy relationship. So you have to be conscious when you're always on the wrong, you're always on the receiving end. You have to stop that before it builds up to something that becomes so toxic you cannot handle.
Yeah, I would actually I say is somebody calls you from nowhere. You've been meeting with this person, they don't tell you anything. They just greet you and go. But suddenly they send you a message, they have a financial need. When they receive money, they don't call back to tell you thank you. They keep quiet until the next time they are looking for money. That's the time they call you. You know, this is a good topic, a very good topic that I want us to dig deep into it. If a husband just appears in the house with guests, he didn't prepare the family. They eat, you prepare a place, they sleep, tomorrow they leave. At first it looked like it was just an incident. Then the following week again, he comes with the guests. He behaves the same manner. So he's training the wife and the children. Every day he's training them. But he keeps on going on. Those are types of toxic relationship. They can be as innocent as simple. So my mother-in-law just comes and says he wants nobody. He prepares nobody. And he stays for as long as they want. Then when they leave, even they don't tell you bye. They just disappear. Then next time again, they send other relatives. They come. They don't prepare anybody. They don't care whatever you have. And then they go. And no any other relationship. It can be, actually, it develops from a very simple behavior. into a very complex behavior that we would actually want to delve on them deeper and help us to come out of it.
Interesting conversation here we are having with Reverend Alan. We will take a short break. Tune in to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and enjoy this conversation. We will be right back. Thank you. So we continue as we want to lay a foundation on toxic relationship. And I want to begin by asking, what causes a toxic relationship? What are some of the triggers, or what are some of the causes?
Okay, like we said earlier on, first, it is upbringing. You see, you marry a person, or you not even necessarily married, get into a relationship, a friendship with a person who has issues. These issues spiral onto you. Yeah, there's so many issues.
Like
issues, for example, a person who was brought up in a very violent marriage, you know, a violent family, has very high chances of being a toxic person. So this person comes up with all those issues. By the way, I've forgotten your question, honestly.
What causes a toxic relationship? You said upbringing.
Yeah, I said upbringing.
Yeah. Okay, I can proceed. I said number one could be a question of nature. How someone was brought up. Somebody was brought up with an excess, an intelligent love. So he grows up to be a bully. My way or no way. So when he grows up, he begins to exercise the same behavior in the society that is not ready to tell him off, society that wants to accommodate him. Number two could be a mannerism that has been learned and was not tamed. A violent person, when they are young, they tend up to grow into the old age as violent. A person who likes insulting others, they tend up to grow with the same mentality. People that are not so much informed, you grow up with your small world, and you think that your small world is the best. You think your tribe is superior, your family is superior. You think that there is something superior about you and your people. So when you begin to relate with others, you begin to abuse them, thinking that they are inferior than you. I would also say insecurities in life. When someone begins to fight their insecurities, they begin to become toxic, so as to annihilate, to control, to suppress, to oppress the other person, that they may not rise up. Somebody may be toxic in their relationship of marriage, so that the wife or the husband may not go away. So you live the life of abusing them. You know, when every time you speak about toxic relationship, sometimes there's an element of competition in somebody. So because I am competing with you, maybe you are my spouse, and looks like you are going to overtake me, I take my place as a husband and I begin to pin you down, to suppress you. It may be jealousy. There are some people who have jealousy with others. So every time they try to put you down, they try to go around you. Have you ever come across people that every time they are your close friends, but every time people are fighting you, they join the group of those who are fighting you? Every time people are going, you find people who are opposing you, they are on the side of the people who are opposing you, but they are saying they are your friend. Their toxicity is pushed because of jealousy. They see something in you that they want to fight, but they cannot fight directly. They have to fight through other people.
Yes, Janet.
She's back.
I'm back. By this, sometimes I have memory lapse.
Sorry.
Yes.
We'll
That's a
discuss it
confession.
one day.
Honestly speaking.
We'll
Yeah.
discuss it
Yeah.
one day.
Then I'm looking at it also, in addition to what Pastor said, sometimes you find there are people who are likely to be victims of toxic people. The other side now, the victim. These people are people with low self-esteem. You know, when you have low self-esteem, you'll accept anything that comes your way. So I'm looking at someone who is more prone to toxicity, someone who lacks self-esteem, someone who lacks self-awareness, someone who for the better part of their lives, they've always been second in the sense that they've always been defeated. And you know, that is also something that is in the mind. That's what I wanted to say.
Low bargaining power.
Exactly.
Low bargaining power. Like, you get married to somebody who is very educated, well established, and you come from serious poverty. Looks like he has pitied you to marry you. You are employed by somebody and you did not have qualifications. So looks like he's just doing a favor to you. So he can do anything, whatever he wants to do with you. You know, toxic relationship includes even bosses having sexual affairs with their juniors for the purpose of maintaining them in job. So as Janet says, low bargaining power is, I gave you a job, you don't have qualifications, I gave you a job, I have to sleep with you. If you resist me, you will lose your job. So I am abused because of what our background relationship. It takes advantage of low bargaining power.
And that's why sometimes you tell a victim, "Su mwache." Sasa nitamwacha aje?
Okay.
What about my job?
What about my job?
What about the children?
What about the
I want to ask, I read somewhere that one of the causes of toxic relationship is lack of empathy. These people don't feel it in the shoe of the others. And I want you as a counselor to bring it out clearly to us, because it's a cause of empathy. And maybe another issue, this person who becomes a victim, who is a failure in life, can grow to be a very toxic person.
Yeah.
They can grow to fight back. We've seen these children who grow in slummy areas, who grow in tough life. They always become rough in life. They always, pastor said, they ventilate or they bring it out just to make sure that life was rough. I need to maintain my status quo. And those two issues, I want us just to discuss as causes of toxic relationship.
Okay, I agree with you, and what you've said is very important. They are called social empaths. Yeah, these people who do not have empathy towards others. And empathy being a core life skill. It is one, by the way, among the most, can I say, the most envied or important life skills. Empathy is one. But you realize that empathy is not everyone has empathy. You see, when you cannot fit in the shoes of another person, then it doesn't bother you when they are always on the wrong, when they are always on the receiving end. When you cannot give, you only receive. So empathy, as a trait, as a life skill, as a very core life skill, is important for lack of toxicity.
So I would actually agree with you people that you only continue to be toxic because you don't feel with the other person. You don't feel with your mother, you don't feel with your father, you don't feel with your siblings. I sometimes watch a program, a local program, and I was watching the program, the Kina program about the drunkard boy. And the sister tells the drunkard boy, these things that you are doing, don't you see that you are putting all of us in danger? Don't you know that mom can die? Don't you feel for all of us? The sister was telling this man, can't you empathize with us? Can't you feel the way we are feeling with us? So lack of empathy nurtures the toxicity. You can be toxic, but if you are somebody that has empathy, you can come to a place and say, I'm bringing a lot of trouble and problem and pain to my people. Let me leave it. But if you don't have empathy, the toxic behavior is nurtured and developed. You just don't care whether the other one is crying, whether the other one wants to kill themselves because of you, whether other people are not sleeping because of you. You don't care. So I would actually agree with you that lack of empathy can be a cause. Again, the people that were raised up in a hard environment, their survival tactic became a personality. Their survival tactic to survive in the harsh environment, running away from criminals, running away from law enforcers, making sure you have to steal to get food, you have to put others down so that you may live. Survival for the fittest. That one, it was a survival tactic. but it can develop into a character and a culture. So when you come to a peaceful environment, it becomes a toxic behavior. When you get somebody that the environment is good, so the same energy, you still live with it and you keep on hurting other people. So that would be my contribution.
Interesting. And I just remember a scenario in my head whereby there's this single mother having relationship with this man. Then this man tells her it's enough, I don't want to have a relationship with you. Then she goes home and strangles her children.
Oh, the Naivasha incident.
She goes home and strangles her children. Then she writes a note to the children who are still alive and tells them, I have left, I don't know how much money for the water bill and rent.
Yeah, so that's an example. She was in a toxic relationship. And even by saying that she's done, she's left the person. You see, it comes again to self-awareness. She didn't mean it. She just left the person physically, but mentally, emotionally inclined to this person. So for this, you see, these toxic people, we find it so hard to live without them. So in the mind of this mother, and by the way, that mother had a mental health issue, but in the mind of this mother, I will not live without this person. I better die than to see them have someone else. I better lose everything. And when you talked about empathy, I recalled something, toxic people in this recent corona times. You see, there were these people who were being told not to go and meet their parents, their aged parents. They'll take corona, you know. These adults who, and you know, there are some people who could not follow that directive. They kept going, hanging around. I'm not talking about teenagers because teenagers is just an adrenaline rush. I'm talking about these adults. I remember very well personally addressing someone not to meet with my parents, you know, because they are too much everywhere. But this person does not see any point. They would just tell me, you see, like I have corona. Do you think I have corona? But they would not empathize with these aging people. That just a small incident can lead to something that is so detrimental. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would contribute to that. If this matter would not have led to the death of the lady, it would have, of the children, it would have been a cry for attention. Actually, it's a cry for attention that went sour. Attention that I really need your love. I need your attention. I need you. But you keep on abusing me and I cannot leave you. So whatever I'm doing must pull you to me. But it went sour. I had somebody closer to us. He used to be very toxic to the family. He would abuse them. He would do a lot of things, beat them, take their money, selling things in the family, a young man. And every time he would be confronted, he would run and jump into a borehole. He had tested the borehole size. So he would jump into the borehole and the water would reach here. And then people would scream, call for the rescue team and bring him up. So every time the man wanted anything, the mother would say, please let us just yield because he's going to jump into the water. He will kill himself. But one day I was with them and when he jumped into the water, I told them he will not die. Just leave him to stay there. And we made sure that the mother didn't go near the water. And he slept in that water overnight. And that was how he ended his toxic behaviors. So they take advantage of what we fear can happen.
Okay.
And just let me add, you know, this topic is very interesting. There's some people, you could be seated somewhere, then there's someone, a toxic person comes in. You know, a toxic person carries with them something that we call pain body. There's some energy, some vibrational energy within them. So you could just be seated, the two of you peacefully, or we are seated somewhere peacefully, then this person comes in. Then the atmosphere changes. That is how much toxicity is not only on the physical level or verbal or emotional. It's also a spirit that someone carries.
It's a presence.
Exactly. Exactly. That is the word. It's a presence. That's why there's someone who can come to your house and you find like you are arguing every time. You are doing what all the time because there's a vibrational energy that has come.
A pain body.
A pain body.
And have you ever discovered that if we are seated, the three of us, and maybe I'm in a toxic relationship, the toxic person comes, I will rise up from here, go out to meet him there, so that to protect you people
Yeah.
from his toxicity,
Yes.
and also to protect me from shame.
Yes.
It's just a chaotic thing.
Yes.
Interesting. As we continue this conversation, I just want us to wind up with what are some of the characteristics that toxic people have in common? The best, we call it the common factor. What are some of the common factors that we can share with us in this conversation that toxic people carry around? Yes, Janet.
I would say for a toxic person, you're wrong all the time.
Mhm.
No matter what you try to do, you're wrong. Then there's this other thing about a toxic person, gaslighting. There's this concept called gaslighting. They are on the wrong, but they will throw it back to you. I hope I'm making sense. So instead of them apologizing,
It is you.
it is you.
They
And
make you defend yourself.
They make you defend yourself. And by the way, you will see that you're very wrong. You will, in your mind, you'll even say, I'm sorry. And then there's this thing again about passive aggressiveness. Someone tells you tell someone, for example, today I'll sleep out, I'm going on a work, whatever related issue. Then they tell you, they can tell you, it's fine, I've always told you I don't like such things, what. So you may remain back feeling guilty. That is passive aggressive, meaning it is not really physical. It is not, but it is an aggression. These people who keep telling you, do whatever you want. I'm fine. I'm not bothered. Whatever. Those are the passive aggressive people. And then of course there's this physical violence. Physical, it can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be emotional, abusiveness. I could say. And of course, their presence brings more unhappiness or negatives than positives. By the way, that is the hallmark. If someone's presence just brings unhappiness, today, tomorrow, that is toxic. You better do away. And we are not even, we are talking about this candidly. Because if you keep remaining in that toxic relationship, it will deter your mental wellness. So you have to run for your life. If not in a marriage setup, marriage, you have to, 1, 2, 3. But these relationships that you're building for marriage, how will you walk into a marriage which is already toxic, even before it begins?
Okay. I would think even if it is for marriage setup, for your mental well-being, you have to run for your life. You have to run for your life. You have to hibernate, because you will get destroyed.
After exhausting the counseling,
everything.
The prayers.
You have to run for your life, because some people have even killed themselves. Some people have done wrong things, or even others have been killed.
But I've also discovered in prayer, the people who come for prayer, they don't pray for themselves. They pray for this toxic person. So they end up wasting a lot of time praying for this
Maybe the interesting part you'll
and
discover.
they don't pray for themselves. You'll find somebody fasting for the other, not fasting for themselves. You'll find somebody going to see the pastor, not for her sake, but for this other. So they keep on wasting quite a chunk of time. They are deterring emotionally, physically, mentally, and even spiritually.
You will come to discover at some point, the victim of the toxic relationship, the victim becomes toxic. So as they keep on coming to pray for the other person, they don't deal with themselves. After sometimes they also become toxic in their own style. They become a hurting factor. So you're asking about characteristics.
And sometimes it grows to a mental health issue.
Common is the toxic people is always about themselves. It's never about the other. It's always about themselves. If you don't give me this, if you don't do this, it's about me, it's about me, it's about me.
Me, myself,
and I. I go out, I stay up to 3 in the morning. You have to wait for me. I destroy this thing. You have to bail for me. It's only about me. Number 2, the common characteristic is that they have a way of making the other one accept their abuse. They have a way of making the other one accept their abuse. I have to support the thing that you are doing, because I don't want you to hurt yourself or you to get hurt.
I want to buy you alcohol so that you don't become violent.
Even I buy you phone. We even bribe them so that they become good. They know their weakness. And then another thing I would say, there are those who are bullies. They can be passively bullies or they can be aggressively bullies. That is, they don't allow you to speak. They don't allow you to air out your opinion. If you air out your opinion, they can decide to walk out. So because you don't want them to walk out, you have to accept with what they are saying. They silence you. Or another alternative, they may be passively bully. They keep quiet.
Yeah.
You just do whatever you want.
They mute.
They mute. They have power. They can mute even for 1 month.
By the way, silent treatment is toxicity. Let us just
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
It is toxic. That one that you
They
call,
keep quiet.
our medics call nilpa or something. That is toxicity.
They can even come and find food on the table and they don't eat. They just pass, they go, they sleep. They can even decide not to come to the bedroom. They are sleeping in the chair until
People
morning.
who get angry, when they get angry, they won't eat.
Or they sleep in the car.
Wow, interesting
And by the way,
conversation.
let me add and say something. Toxic people don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, it's about them.
Yeah, they don't care. I mean, they don't care. That's why you see someone can be admitted in hospital, but this other person does not care.
Yeah.
The people who are around there are more friends and are
Relatives.
not the common person there who's supposed to be there.
You've seen even others, their wives are delivering in the hospital and they go and drink themselves the entire night. For 3 days, they come when the wife has been brought back home and they don't care.
They don't. By the way, for toxicity again, no resolving issues. You bypass. So
No resolving issues.
No resolving issues. So
There's something you taught me about no resolving issue. What kind of a relationship is that one? Protracted.
Oh, the emotionally detached couples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so
They are detached. Yeah, there is no resolving
Yeah.
issue. Interesting conversation we've had here. I just want to maybe make a wrap up with these wonderful people, Reverend Alan, our counselor, Janet Suru. And another interesting part as we close with our closing remark, I think another common factor is they are not interested in what is important. You're important, your graduation, your milestones in life. You tell them, oh, I have a baby. They tell you, like, I think as if you're the only one who've given birth. Okay, I have
Even
built.
the abscond funerals.
They abscond. Maybe you've built a house.
Wedding.
It's a big milestone in your life, and they're like, that is a very small thing. They keep on brushing your important events in life. They minimize or ignore or delete or close the
I saw
window.
another one who left the child in school and didn't pick the child and continue with his own things. So those are toxic
Yeah, they are not interested in what is important to
to
you.
you. Yeah.
You're very excited, and they're like, So, what are your closing remarks as we pick up on toxic
Even they can be
relationships?
abusive to your parents.
Yeah.
They don't care about your family members.
Yeah,
What
they
is-
keep digging your past.
What is your
They tell you things about
We are very angry. Our closing remarks.
like ukumbuki hata nilikutoa mali nilikutoa nimekusaidia sana.
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
And by the way, we have toxic ones.
Closing remarks.
Yeah, that's the meaning, toxic. You see, the woman that is described in Proverbs, that it's better to stay in a leaking roof than with a nagging woman.
It's better
That
to
is-
stay on the rooftop and eat leaves
Oh.
The corner of a rooftop.
and eat
Than-
leaves than to stay
With a nagging-
with a nice meal at home with a nagging woman.
So that is a toxic woman. That's the ideal description of a toxic woman. My closing remarks would be: if you are in a friendship that is toxic, you have to leave for your mental health and for your destiny, for your progress in life. If you're a teenager bound in some sort of a vicious circle of this relationship that you ought to leave, then you really have to do that, because it won't be better. You cannot claim to love someone who is too toxic to you. If you're married, you have to strive to cut the roots as they start growing of any toxicity, because the journey of freeing ourselves from toxicity is continuous. So even in these normal relationships, the ones that are not toxic, it can turn to toxic. Now, my final closing remark is this: if you're in any association, any friendship, any relationship, the moment you start questioning whether you deserve better, you do.
Wow.
I would say the Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Every time you love others, make sure that you love them the way you love yourself. Never sacrifice the love of yourself for the sake of the love of the other. It becomes toxic every time you are hurting to love the other person. This means that if the other person is abusive, if the other person brings pain, if the other person cares less, and you keep on keeping the relationship because you think that you love them, you are breaking the commandments of our Lord Jesus Christ. Every love, be it for a child, be it for a spouse, be it for your pastor or your church members, be it for friends, every love must be equal to the way you love yourself. If at any point of my life I come to a place that I hurt myself as I am trying to love the other one, that relationship is not balanced. And when it is not balanced, it's a depression. And when it's a depression, it is a toxic relationship. So I will actually say, begin to see on how you will make yourself happy as you trying to make others happy. Begin to love yourself. Begin to look for a way out. If you can correct the other person, correct them. If you can avoid them, avoid them. If it is impossible, you have to hibernate, to run for your life, because toxic relationship has a potential to destroy you. And toxic people, they rarely change. Yeah.
Thank you. A wonderful conversation from Reverend Alan and our counselor, psychologist Janet Surum Kiplagat. We stop at this point, as we will pick up with more in the following series that are ahead of us. So stay blessed, stay tuned, and make sure you deal with toxicity around you and in you. God bless you.